Hello everyone, welcome to another Unholy Decay video. As per requested, I'm gonna show you guys in this video exactly which builds you should go for in pre-patch, in the pre-patch for Shadowlands, and what exactly are my thoughts on Shadowlands overall. Okay, so first of all, before we go into the talents, let's talk a little bit the Shadowlands pre-patch and what exactly is happening right now. Now, if you just hop on into a random battleground, you will just see exactly what I will be talking about for the next few minutes. It's still based on skill, but it's based more on skill and burst. It's based more on if you burst right, then you can kill your target from the first time, alright? Back in BFA, it felt like you had to burst the target a couple of times in order for you to kill it. Unless you are, for example, like a fire mage, then basically you have to burst it over and over again to kill the target. So that means we have to adapt to that, because the damage is definitely higher in pre-patch than it was back in BFA. So that's what it feels like. Anyway, I'm not gonna get too much into that, because there's something else we need to talk about. It is that we need to adapt to these situations, you know? That means we also have to deal enough damage to keep up with the other classes. And surprisingly, Unholy Death Knights also deal a lot of damage in pre-patch. Actually, even more than they did back in BFA due to their changes. So now, in order for us to adapt and in order for us to keep up with our classes, let's find out which is the best build for that. Now, there are two possible builds that you can go for, that I went for in pre-patch. There is the full shadow damage build. I also did a video about it back in BFA, I think it was back in March. The full shadow damage build revolves around glowing shadows and ebon fever. Alright, so basically instead of using necrotic strike, you don't use it anymore, you don't opt into it anymore. Instead, you just focus on dealing as much damage as possible and not on absorbing all the heals. I am right now opting towards the necrotic strike build. It feels just a little bit better than the full damage build, because we are not really used to it. Every DK out there is used to playing the necrotic strike build and not something else. So let's focus on that first, alright? Now let's get to the talents. We got Infected Claws, All Will Serve, and Glowing Shadows. I'm not gonna get too much into details about this because there are already a lot of videos, in-depth videos about the DK talents. I'm gonna show you guys just what works best for me. So first of all, Infected Claws, All Will Serve, Glowing Shadows. I go for Infected Claws. Why? Feels better than the other two. All Will Serve is pretty much the same it always was. Additional damage, but not enough to really make an impact. Glowing Shadows, you take this if you opt into the full shadow damage build. I go for Infected Claws because I'm using the Necrotic Strike build. And then again, because of this, I'm also using Bursting Source. Because not only it deals more damage when we burst a festering wound, but it also increases the absorption part of Necrotic Strike by 2 or 3%. I'm not exactly sure how much. It got buffed a couple of patches ago, whatever. It increases the absorption part, right? So it's not really 4%, it's 6 or 7% with Bursting Source. If I'm going for the full shadow damage build, I'm going Ebon Fever. Unholy Blight is really good. If this was on any other row but not this one, I would definitely take it, but we actually have better alternatives on this row, right? So this is good but not good enough to keep up with these two. The next one is Asphyxiate. No opposition there, the other two are just not good enough. And then Soul Reaper got changed. In my opinion, it's not good anymore, because if you get a target below 35%, he's as good as dead even without the Soul Reaper. This is just like a reassurance that you're gonna kill the target, alright? But if he's below 35% and we are Unholy Death Knights, trust me, he's dead. Harbinger of Doom, same as it always was. You can maybe opt into it with Army of the Damned, but I don't find it good enough to actually use it in any kind of PvP situation. But then again, Pestering Pustules, if you remember, the Rune Corruption got buffed a couple of patches ago as well, which means it procs way more often than it used to. That's why I'm opting for it, because more runes mean more damage for us. This does actually provide some damage, but not enough to keep up with the damage that we get from bursting another festering wound with more runes. Makes sense? I don't know if it makes sense, but I hope it does. On to the next row, we got Spell Eater, Wraithwalk, and Death Pact. Pretty situational here. There's not one that's better than the other, it's just situational. If you're against melee targets like warriors or hunters, like survival hunters I mean, I opt for Death Pact. If we are against demon hunters, druids, shamans, monks, whatever has mobility I mean, I go for Wraithwalk. If we are against heavy magic damage, I go for Spell Eater. And please do keep in mind that magic damage doesn't necessarily mean ranged targets. Paladins deal holy damage, which is magic damage. Rogues deal nature damage, which is as well magic damage. Even sub rogues deal shadow damage, so it's still magic damage, right? Keep that in mind. On to the next one. No opposition here. Unholy Pact is just the best thing that you can get in here, regardless of what kind of build you are playing. It used to be an Azerite trait, but it got implemented as a talent now. So Pestilence, same as it always was, good for AoE situations in PvE. Defile, same thing, good for AoE situations in PvE. But if you position yourself well with Unholy Pact, can still be better than those two, even in PvE. But we are talking about PvP here, so it's the only thing that actually helps us in PvP. Now on to the next one, which is the more important one. I'm gonna quickly get rid of Summon Gargoyle because the same as it always been, it's fun, it's a lot of fun, but not good enough to actually play in a real PvP situation where, you know, you actually have to have your burst available in at most 2 minutes, definitely not 3 minutes, that's too much. Army of the Damned got changed. It also summons summons Magi of the Dead. They used to be Azerite trait as well, but they got changed, they got implemented in this talent. It's good, but not good enough. You can try this with Harbinger of Doom if you want something new, but it still doesn't keep up with the other builds. Now, Unholy Assault is the best thing that ever happened to Unholy Death Knights. This is basically Unholy Frenzy, but upgraded. Upgraded as in it now deals shadow damage, infects the target with 4 festering wounds, and also gives us the haste that Unholy Frenzy used to give us. Now this is very good in combination with our Apocalypse because they have the same cooldown, 1.3 minutes, 1.3 minutes. This deals shadow damage and puts 4 festering wounds, and this uses those festering wounds to actually summon ghouls. Both of them, keep in mind, deal shadow damage. Alright? And shadow damage scales with our mastery. Keep that in mind. Now onto the PvP talents. I always go for Raise Abomination no matter of the situation nowadays, because we don't have to opt into Lichborn anymore since it now got implemented as an actual ability for any kind of Death Knight. It got changed, I'm not gonna get into that, you can always read by yourself what it does. What I mean is that we no longer have to use it as a PvP talent. That's why Raise Abomination is always a must, at least for me. If you guys know something else that I don't know, please comment, so as I said, we can all improve. Now the Necrotic Strike as well is a must if you are going for this build. If you are not using this build and you are going for the full shadow damage build, you can go for something with more survivability like Transfusion or Dome of Ancient Shadow. The third one, this depends on the situation. This is situational as well. If you want to survive more and you feel like you are dying way too much, if you are dying way too much to magic damage, go for Dome of Ancient Shadow. If you are dying way too much to melee damage, go for Transfusion to heal yourself more. Or if you want to make sure that you can kill your target as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, go for Necrotic Aura. Other than that, you can try Dark Simulacrum for some plays, Reanimation for some fun, and Necromancer's Bargain. If you try this, you will see that in theory it's good, but in reality it can actually keep you back from actually dealing some serious damage. That's pretty much it. That's what I use, that's what I found to be working. Now I'm gonna show you guys how to burst. You already know the rotation for the Unholy Death Knight in PvP. Always keep Virulent Plague on your target at all times. Build up Festering Wounds with Festering Strike and burst them either with Necrotic Strike to get some absorption on your target, or with Scorch Strike to deal some more damage. Right? You already know that. Now about the burst, if you have your Dark Transformation available, use it in the burst. But you should always use this one on cooldown. No matter what happens, use it on cooldowns, alright? Don't keep it for your burst. It deals so much damage and it has such low cooldown that it's not worth to just keep it for the whole burst. Okay guys, now for the burst itself. Let's make this as if we had our dark transformation on cooldown, right? Because we always use it. Let's target. And this is how we burst. First of all, I'm gonna go for Raise Abomination, Unholy Frenzy, Apocalypse, Ripping Flames, and the Damage Trinket. That's pretty much the burst. That's the rotation that I use in my burst. Let's see this again with the recounter add-on to see how much damage you actually deal in these 3 seconds or how much it is. Okay, then let's try this again and see just how much damage you are actually doing in these couple of seconds. Alright, we're gonna take that target. Let's use Dark Transformation, Raise Abomination, Unholy Frenzy, Apocalypse, Ripping Flames, and the Damaging Trinket. And just like that, we did 47k damage in just mere seconds, alright? And the damage is still going because of our Abomination and of our pets, and I'm not even attacking right now. It's just them attacking, and that's it. That's how you should burst as an Unholy Death Knight. This is the macro once again, if you wanna see it. It's Cast Sequence, Unholy Assault, Apocalypse. Don't try to implement anything else in it or you're gonna break it. Happened for me, it happens, it's frustrating, it doesn't work anymore in the PvP. Now, another thing is that on your weapon you should always have, where is it? Where's the Rune Forge? God damn it, okay, here it is. There are only 2 Rune Forges runes actually, that are actually good for Unholy Death Knight. Fallen Crusader is and has always been amazing on us, on Unholy Death Knights. But with this pre-patch we also have something else that's good for us, which is Rune of the Apocalypse. I always use this. Fallen Crusader is good, but falls off just a little bit short of Rune of the Apocalypse. You can read what it does. Best thing about it is that you always have at least one effect on your target. At least one is always there. Best case scenario, you have 2 or more. Now, I'm gonna show you guys how to survive more. As requested, a lot of you ask me how am I not dying and stuff like that. How am I not dying is that in a PvP situation you should always anticipate how the battle is going to go. Alright? And what I mean by that is, I think you know the saying that the best defense is a good offense. Now, what I mean by that is that there are certain matchups, in which you should just go all out, and certain matchups in which you should actually stop and consider what you are doing. Let me give you an example. If you are fighting a Warlock, alright, a Destruction Warlock, Affliction Warlock, whatever, they have no invulnerabilities. They have some damage reduction abilities, but no invulnerabilities. What you need to do against classes like that is don't give them the upper hand on you, or they will win, because that's just how the game goes, right? Go all out on him, use abilities, don't let him get any chance to overcome you, and then they will kind of panic, and when they will panic they will not bait any kind of abilities from you. You can always interrupt some Chaos Bolts, some Fears, and that's it, you kill your target on spot. But then again, there are also matchups like Shadow Priests, and if you use everything on a Shadow Priest in the beginning, we all know how that goes. He uses Dispersion, he uses Greater Fate, and by the time all your minions are dead, he is alive and kicking, and you are left with absolutely no abilities. Now, we don't want that to happen, because that's pretty much, for us, we are done for. That's why you should stop and consider what you are doing against the Shadow Priest. What I like to do is I like to bait his abilities. I like to use the Raise Abomination to bait a Greater Fate or a Dispersion, and then deal enough damage to bait the other one, and only after that use our full burst. Alright? Now, how to survive is that you need to understand that you are going to die against certain matchups. If you know that, you know when to use their abilities. Like if I am up against a Warlock, what I like to do is I like to go full burst and use my anti-magic shell preemptively. Preemptively means to anticipate any kind of fear, any kind of CC that he might use on me, and I immediately nullify that because I already have my anti-magic shell on me, and that's why I can burst him completely. So basically, I'm giving this example with the Warlocks because poor Warlocks have no invulnerabilities. They have no Divine Shield, they have no Greater Fate, nothing like that. What that means is that before I use all of my burst, I basically use my Raid Abomination, Anti-Magic Shell, and then go for the rest of the burst. And now the poor Warlock is left with us rampaging all over him, and he can do absolutely nothing for us for the next couple of seconds. And now if he tries to cast, we simply use Mind Freeze, Asphyxiate, and the Pet Stun on him. That's what I mean by a good defense is actually offense. Now if you're against the Shadow Priest, you might actually stop and consider what you are doing, as I said. Use your Anti-Magic Shell defensively, by that I mean when you are about to die, and don't try to be cocky and go for Necrotic Aura. Just go for Dome of Ancient Shadow or Transfusion to survive more, right? You are not going to kill a Shadow Priest from your first burst, right? So keep in mind that you need to survive actually in that matchup. That's why first of all you can use, for example, your Anti-Magic Shell. After that is gone, you can use your Transfusion and heal yourself on your target. After that is gone, you can use your Lichborn to escape any kind of fear. Use your Rise 142 to survive more. Always heal yourself with Death Strike and try to interrupt the right spells. By that I mean try to interrupt the Vampiric Touch or whatever it's called on a Shadow Priest. Try to interrupt the Chaos Bolts on Warlocks, the G-Pyro on Mages. Anything that's actually essential. That's pretty much how you survive in a matchup. In this patch, you have to think ahead of what's going to happen. That was kind of pretty much it for this video, guys. If you find it helpful, please leave a like and a comment. If you didn't, then please leave a comment. If you have something to add, again, leave a comment. We are here to improve. We are not here to, to boast about us. Thank you very much for watching. As always, see you on the next videos. Peace.